Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Wednesday, the 12th of October 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 finished the day up just a touch, 2 points in fact, to 6,648 points. Today was all about the banks, with Bank of Queensland leading the way, surging 11% after reporting a 15% jump in net profit. But the really good news, at least from an investor viewpoint, was that in the final 3 months of the period, net interest margins, that's how banks make money, rose. That helped send all the banks' share prices higher, led by Westpac, which finished up more than 3%. The big miners fell on lower iron ore prices. Woodside and Santos were both off around 2%, and CSL dropped 1%. Another one of note, Mineral Resources share price surged yesterday after reports said the company had priced out a new lithium hydroxide plant in Western Australia, but today it fell 3.7%, the worst of the top 200, after the company said no decision had yet been made on whether to build the $1.3 billion plant. Story number 2, there was a bunch of corporate deals announced today among some of the smaller resource stocks. Lake Resources said it had signed an agreement to provide up to 25,000 tonnes each year of lithium from its Argentinian mine. As part of that deal, the buyer, SK Onco, will purchase a 10% stake in Lake. Its share price rose 2%. General Motors in the US said it will invest up to $110 million and take an equity interest in Queensland Pacific Metals to secure a new source of nickel and cobalt for battery cells used in cars. That sent Pacific Metals share price up 17%, and coal company Coronado Global Resources confirmed it's in talks with the New York Stock Exchange listed Peabody Energy regarding a potential transaction. Its share price jumped 8%. Story number 3, Reserve Bank Assistant Governor Lucy Ellis gave a speech on the neutral cash rate today, and she said it was hard to pin down, but it's an important concept for thinking about the impact of monetary policy. A neutral rate means monetary policy is neither supportive nor does it detract from growth. Everything is in balance. Now, the central bank has lifted the official cash rate from 0.1% to 2.6% so far. That's the fastest tightening pace in history. And people are wondering whether that means interest rates might now be holding the economy back or neutral. Ms. Ellis said there's now some positive probability that the bank isn't stimulating the economy. I think that means she's suggesting there's still a way to go before we get to that neutral point. Story number 4, Australia has launched its new corporate logo, Ruby the Roo. It was launched in Tokyo as part of a worldwide campaign to attract international visitors. Trade and Tourism Minister Don Farrell called Ruby the new Paul Hogan. We'll see. He said parts of the country, notably far north Queensland, the Gold Coast and the capital cities, have been hit hard by the lack of visitors during COVID. And Ruby's job is to convince them to come back. And finally, story number 5, there's been a big deal in the uranium sector overseas, highlighting how the once scorned energy source is gaining new interest. Canadian company Cameco and Toronto-based Brookfield Renewable Partners will acquire a nuclear power plant equipment maker, Westinghouse Electric, in a $7.9 billion deal, including debt. There's just a bit more interest in nuclear power at the moment, and the purchase shows that investors think nuclear will be a more reliable energy source in the future. Of course, aiding this theory is the war in Europe and the energy crisis that's going on. That's it for the afternoon report for Wednesday, the 12th of October, 2022. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.